welcome back to Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Last time... yeah. We don't talk about last time. This time we're going on to a chapter that's thankfully on a route map and is actually kind of interesting story-wise, so let's go.
Tibarn's group passes quickly through Salmo, drawing steadily closer to the Imperial capital. The hardships of the journey lead the group to overcome their racial differences and form bonds of friendship and trust. However, Almeida, the Queen Mother of Dain, remains alone and aloof. Her son, Peleus, also seems to guard some secret thought tucked deep within his heart.
Naturally, that's a little different if Peleus is dead. Also, the title of this chapter, while it's fitting, it seems a bit weird that you go distortions, revelations, and now we don't have another single word that ends with an S. I feel like we should have had a single word that ends with an S for this chapter title. Because that would have been kind of a good build-up to Endgame, but no, instead we get it, we break the pattern and have Unforgivable Sin. Again, it's a fitting title, but I would have preferred a single word ending with S. Well, he's probably ready to promote by now. Oh, that's not what you meant. Yeah, many people figured out the connection between them upon first seeing Kurth Naga. A bit of interesting world building here. There have been slight hints at this so far, but it hasn't been fully explained until this line right here. So, this was partly why Ashnard cast her aside, because not only did their child not possess any particular special powers, but she couldn't turn into a dragon anymore, so she was now useless to him. Yeah, Ashnard. Even after death, the series makes you hate him even more. Yes, he says goddesses plural now, but originally they didn't know that. This plot point I always found kind of weird, but there are... let's just say it becomes kind of important a bit later. And we're about to go completely off that topic because... I'd know that flowery language anywhere. Finally, Bastian has returned. And his dialogue is just as great as always. Though his lines are not obviously an iambic pentameter anymore, as they tended to be in the last game. They're still very over the top, though. They said that he was off investigating some things in Dain. We're about to see the fruits of his labor now. What do we need him for? That kind of sums it up in a way. Yeah, Lucia's great. Those two actually do have supports in the last game. And Lucia snarks at him a lot there too. Also, This guy looks kind of familiar. Meanwhile, more very blatant Geoffrey and Alicia shipping. Even though the previous scene had a very slight hint of Alicia and Tibon. And hey, reunions all round. Very glad to see you again, Volke. Now, there's a conversation in the next part that I feel... Actually, you know what? I guess I can say it now. I think fireman is a mistranslation. I think it really should have been extinguisher. That would have made so much more sense, considering his profession. But they called him fireman in Path of Radiance. They had to keep it consistent here, even though they didn't keep the Tower of Guidance, or in the American version, Diginsia's name consistent, but still. Yeah, I think extinguisher would have been a much better translation. But who's this captive? And yes, they say that Volke is now in Bastian's employ. That's why I took the effort to show off Bastian and Volke's support conversations in the last game, because they are very, very canon to Radiant Dawn. The job that Bastian offers Volke in their A support, we're actually about to see it in this chapter. Or at least at the end of the chapter we'll find out what it is. Also, Volke is the same as always. Surprised that Bastian's immediately agreeing too. So, a mysterious escapee, Volke is back, and a mysterious man in a cloak. This will all make sense later. I kind of feel like Lucia should recognize him. But if you played Path of Radiance, you might know who that is. So this chapter we're going to be having a bit of a break from fighting the Disciples of Order and cleaning up a plot thread that was in the background of Path of Radiance and established a little bit in this one. But firstly, some info conversations. I'll do Peleus' one first. And I'm pretty sure this conversation is the one reason Torori was forced into this party. I think this is the only dialogue he has in all of the Team Alincia chapters in Part 4. It's kind of weird, like, of all the places that he could be forced into, because you'd think he'd have a boss conversation with Numita if he was available in Micaiah's party, but no, he's locked into this one. Also, yeah, I shouldn't be talking over this. This line is actually more important in the Japanese version. Unfortunately, it's very unsatisfying there, so I kind of prefer the English version's way of doing this. But remember that, the mark of the Blood Pact has faded a little bit. Yeah, everyone in Dayan can't exactly die if they're all stone. So we've got a perfect opportunity. We just have to kill Lekane and destroy the document before defeating Ashura. And considering Lekane is directly on her side, that's not going to be very hard to do. And now an item. Tell me about it. There was evidence suggesting that Dark Tomes could be forged at one point in development. You can't forge Dark Tomes in this one now. I forget if you even get Dark Tomes. I mean, I suppose you could disarm druids and steal the Dark Tomes on your first playthrough, but they're only good for selling because you don't get any actual dark magic uses unless you're on a clear data file. She's still looking out for him, and this is why I wasn't too worried about using Fenrir in the last map, because we get another one here. And now this conversation. This one is interesting because there are actually 3 different variants on this one. And again, shows the amount of attention to detail in some of the conversations in this game. That also means, so, I'll be talking about this once I finish the game, but there is a base conversation viewer that you can go into in the extras menu. Unlocking all 3 variants of this one is particularly annoying. What were you doing during the time when the Crimean army joined up with Ike and stormed Dayan? Seriously. And... yep, Largo got so badly demoted to extra in this game that he got turned to stone, which is a fate that only affects non-plot relevant characters, so that just about says, what the developers of this game thought of Largo. Yeah, I feel bad to people who liked him in the first game. I actually kind of liked him in the first game. But anyway, this is where the conversation branches. As you can tell, it depends on whether Khalil is in this party or not. Oh, there are rules. There is, in fact, a reason why Amy was spared petrification, but we'll find that out in the base conversation before the next chapter. And yeah, this sequence right here, this does not happen if Khalil is in any other party. So yes, again, Largo not only is not playable in this game, but he got the fate designated to non-relevant characters and was turned to stone. Yeah, unfortunately there is not a Kia staff in this universe, so we can't just use that on him. Fire Emblem does kind of have... well, actually it's only in this game in Genealogy that people get turned to stone. So, that conversation has 3 different variants. One for if Khalil is on Team Elincia, one if she is in any other party, and one, which is incredibly heartbreaking, if Khalil is dead. If you want to cry, look up the Khalil is dead version of that conversation. It's... I mean, it does admittedly have a nice moment where Ranulph offers to let Amy sleep beside him, but it's still... it's incredibly painful, seriously. Yeah, I've never seen that one in any of my playthroughs, but yeah, and I don't want to. Anyway, doesn't look like we can do many supports here. Sadly, Peleus wasn't able to unlock a support with anyone. Elincia, can she support Lucia? Nephany? You know, Elincia and Nephany was actually gonna be a support pair in Path of Radiance, but it got cut, so might as well restore that, I think. I mean, she's only a technically Ha, but should I keep the Nephany and Ha support going? Maybe I'll save Elincia's support for someone else later, because she doesn't really tend to spend much time close to other characters. She sort of flies around and heals wherever she's needed. Can you support anyone besides Ranulph? Volke, Nephany, nah. Tibar, unfortunately, can't support anyone, but he's only been around for 1 chapter, so that's kind of fine. And, yeah, that should be it for supports. Now, I want to show Market first, because there's actually, finally, something useful in the bargains. Bird Foe. You might be wondering where this was. We've got Beast Foe, got Dragon Foe, now we have this. This, yeah, this is pretty much the only point in the game where it's actually useful. But you definitely do want to buy it, because it can be useful here. Gonna ironically give that to Tibar for the moment. And more Olivia Grass, for some reason. Actually, both of the gems that we got from Oliver's Mansion are now in our convoy, so I might as well sell these. I should probably sell this, honestly. I'm gonna keep it, though, as a trophy, I guess, because, I mean, it is a plot-critical skill, I suppose. Okay, now in terms of items, putting this in the convoy, because no one here can use that, and I guess I can put the toy in the convoy. And now you can finally take Physic, and you might as well take Fortify as well. Actually, you know what? Rescue might help here too. I definitely want to save Rescue for later in the game so I can show some special boss conversations, but Rescue here will certainly help because the boss of this chapter likes to teleport around, so I'm going to counter teleporting with teleporting. I'm going to keep the Spectre card on you because you actually have special boss dialogue here. As for everyone else, it feels like it's been so long since I used this party. Do I have any better lances? Not that much, to be honest. But I think Aaron's kind of fine with what he has now. And Nephany... Oh, that spear's really good. Yeah, you don't need the Panacea. Actually, Geoffrey has some good stuff, doesn't he? Wow, he's got lots and lots of good stuff. Won't need the Horse Slayer here, but maybe I'll, except I don't want to break that before endgame, because I might need that there. But I guess I'll grab that for now. Okay, Steel Grutlance, Silver Grutlance, that's good. You still have Nox, and they're both the exact same level. So yeah, we can compare them side by side now. Aaron obviously has more strength and defense, but Nethany has more skill, speed, and resistance. They're still pretty close to each other, though, in power. Okay, Peleus. You know what, actually, I might as well... No, wait, I'll do this first. So, award experience. Peleus, now that he's capped 2 stats, and he'll be capping more stats once I start this, he's ready to be bonus experience up to promotion. So let's do that. Doesn't even cost all that much, honestly. Yeah, that's good. That's capped now. And resistance should be capped now. So now he can gain a bit of defense, I guess. And strength. Not that he really needs it, because most mages who aren't named Sanaki don't have strength issues in this game. Oh wow, he must have capped everything but 2. And now it's time for the King's promotion. Actually, that looks really cool. The pose he's in. Seems like they put more effort into his model than they did for the others, but he technically has a custom class, so I can see why. He doesn't really look all that different here, despite shoulder pads and a slightly bigger cloak, but it's alright. Peleus is now an Archsage in brackets Dark, because that is actually what the class is referred to as. So yeah, he can now use Staves in addition to Thunder and Dark. And I've said this before, but he's the only Archsage who can get to an S in Staves, so he's the only one who can use Fortify, but let's see if there are any Staves I can give. Recover, I suppose. And any Thunder... yeah. He can't use this even if he wanted to, by the way. This is actually Ilyana exclusive, as I mentioned before. I might actually want a Thunder Tome. I keep thinking I need to go to the shop to buy magic, but no. What's his Thunder rank? I wonder if Arc Thunder is actually usable. But really, Elf Thunder probably does the job. At less of a cost. Oh yes, Thunder Magic being effective against... In fact, all 3 types of magic are going to be pretty useful here. But yeah, Thunder Magic especially, even though it sucks and thus will only have, like... I mean, 21 might is not bad with effectiveness bonus. Yes, that's only 15 with effectiveness bonus, so that's not very good, but... I kind of want to save my gold. Though in the next chapter, I'll be selling a lot, so I suppose I can buy one of these. 10, 12... Yeah, Elf Thunder's going to be pretty much the exact same as one of those with effectiveness, so I'll just give you one of them. Now for skills. There was a reason why I wanted to keep at least one Paragon on this party. Peleus is getting Paragon right now. Sadly, he does not have room for both Paragon and a Foe Scroll. I really wish he did, but... yeah, the capacity system in this game is not entirely great. Oh, by the way, this description, this class description got altered in the European version because it actually, in the American version, I think it said all magic, which is not true. But anyway, gonna go ahead and remove that, even though Imbue is pretty great on Nethany. I want to make room for a couple of Foe Scrolls. Unfortunately, in order to put a Foe Scroll in Alencia, I'm gonna need to remove Paragon from her, and I do still kind of want her to have Paragon. Because, like, I could put Birdfell on Tiban, but one, it would require me to remove Savior or Pavis, which are both great skills, and that's not worth it for a skill that's only going to be useful for one chapter. But, like, Tiban doesn't need Birdfoe. Alencia might make decent use of it, though. Alencia with Dragon Foe's not bad here either, because, that's 4 attacks from her personal weapon, and all with effectiveness bonus. So yeah, by the way, all 3 Foe Scrolls. You want to have one person with each for this chapter. But I guess I'll give Alencia Birdfoe and have her act as anti-air in this chapter. And with that, I think... I don't know why, but Nephany always tends to be my Dragon Slayer, so I'm going to give Nephany Dragon Foe, and you will get Beast Foe. Actually, wait a minute. Change my mind, I'm swapping them. The reason I'm swapping them is because Nephany's more likely to double cats. So she's probably going to get more use out of it. Although, Aaron can, for the most part, outright one-shot cats thanks to Beast Foe, so maybe it isn't necessary. You know what, I'm going to go for this. So yeah, Beast Foe on you, Dragon Foe on you, Bird Foe's currently on Alencia. I have one more Paragon to give to someone. Funny if you do double Paragon, but don't think anyone would really have the capacity for that. I kind of want it on a... Actually... No capacity. But, well, if I remove Pass, I guess. I don't think Pass is going to be that useful for him here. I guess, maybe? I mean, he's already kind of decent as he is, though. How about... Though I'm not really planning on using Nolan later. Then again, though, neither am I planning on using Ranulph. Speaking of Nolan, I don't think you need Vantage. Peleus has room for Vantage, at least. I think that's all I'll do for now, though Alencia with Vantage is decent as well. I think for now that's all I'll do. I wish you could sell Satori signs. Oh, speaking of selling, let's get this out of the way. Do not need the statue frag. And are there any other... Actually, you might as well swap your Silver Lance over to someone like, Aaron, maybe. Oh yeah, Geoffrey's back, and if you want to third tier him right now, that's actually kind of useful in this chapter. I'm probably not going to, though. And we now have Bastian in our merry band. Haven't trained a sage yet and really want one in endgame? Well, that's what Bastian's for. Wait a minute, I'm getting deja vu here. As Stefan is to True Blades, Bastian is to Sages. He comes towards the end of the game with solid base stats and an SS rank in a weapon type. So he mainly serves to fill an SS tome-shaped hole in your team if you have one, though unlike Stefan, mages kind of suck at Radiant Dawn. In particular, Bastian's base speed is pretty low, just like it was in the last game. On the bright side, Corrosion got a massive buff since Path of Radiance, so that's something he has going for him. And he can heal, though there are better filler staff units for endgame. One very silly thing I've seen a lot of people do with him is to bring him to endgame and give him bolting. He has high enough of a thunder rank to use that, and there's a certain endgame chapter where you can have a lot of fun with that tome. Other than that though, Bastian is just kind of a mediocre filler option. And again, you really don't need an Archsage in endgame, but if you do and for some reason you haven't trained Soren, Bastian can kind of fill that role. And him starting with one tome of every type is nice, and in fact I don't think I have any staffs for him to be staff botting, unfortunately. Actually... Alencia may need one of those. Wait, no, I meant to trade Mercy for it. So yes, I'll give one of those to Alencia. And that should be... gonna go ahead and convoy pass. Oh, Jill got the Lagoo's gem, right? It's not in my convoy. That's probably alright. Okay, let's move out. So who are we going to be fighting in this chapter? We'll see. Actually, this is very much the Lagoo's affair. For once, it's not the Disciples of Order. Which may explain why it's not a route chapter. I guess they're so fanatical they'll only surrender if all of them are dead. I remember that map model. So, not only do we have Lagoos who are drugged and their minds twisted beyond recognition, we now have undead drugged Lagoos whose minds were twisted beyond all recognition. Didn't think we'd finish the game without fighting this guy, did you? I'm sure many of you have been looking forward to this. Yeah, the Lagoos saw Gritney a tower in the last game. Izuka escaped before they could find out who was responsible. They never directly saw him. But the player knows that he was responsible. And people who played the last game, they've been waiting all the way until now for, well, what Tiban's saying right here. We get to hear this theme again. I actually think this is a really good song. So as you can see, we have, if you look closer you can see a hawk just behind his text box. We have all 3 tribes of Lagoos here, including dragons. Hence why picking up Dragonfoe in the desert with someone with a full inventory is amazing. And so, yeah, I see that green unit out of the corner of my eye. We'll get to him when we get to the chapter itself. And so, it's time for Team Alencia to once again take on Forgotten Villain cleanup duty.